Yes, we are. Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to what I am calling Quiz of the Day. The BBC have yet to send the cease and desist letter, so that's what I'm going to keep on calling it. Joining me tonight, I have Stuart Beard and Jason Butler, two of OQL's finest, if I may say so. And I think I will start tonight with the question that has no wrong answer to both of you, and that is, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? We'll start with Jason.
I'll go with invisibility,
Any reason
and
why?
not for any sort of pervy reason or anything like that. But yeah, no, we'll leave it at that.
Okay,
Invisibility.
okay, yeah. Stuart?
Um, I'd, I'd like to be able to catch anything that was thrown at me, no matter how hard or where. I would always catch it.
I'm trying to think of that on the scene of the crime. Look, it's catching man. I, I,
I don't know why. I just like the.
the
I do like when you when you open a cupboard in the kitchen
oh, and
and
something falls.
there's a tiny little noise, and then you catch it amazingly without you're not even seeing it. You catch it, and there's no one there to see it.
To witness the act. I think I choose to fly. I think it's the bog standard natural one, but it's just the best. Okay, so first of all, how did you both find this evening? Did you play this evening's game? Yes.
So we played a Division 6 promotion playoff, and we coming to the last question, we were leading by 1 point, and Encyclopedia Britannica had the honour of the last question, and they plucked it for 2. So we very narrowly lost it. Nippon took the whole way. Good game it was.
Oh, see, I don't know if I'd like that because I think we've all gone into games like that where it's been very, very close, very, very tight into the last round or even into the last pair or the last question. And oh, those are sometimes the worst ones because I keep saying to my team, I'd like to go into one last round where I'm not sweating buckets that I have to get some 16th century French monk for us to win, you know? I'd like
And the problem when the games are that tight, we can all look at, I should have got that. Even though your team maybe picks it up for one or whatever, you can always find a point or two here or there, and so it is frustrating if you navel gaze at the end of a match that you've narrowly lost.
Oh, 100%, 100%. That's yeah, I find that if it is so tight, you find yourself focusing so much more on the little things that you didn't get. Maybe a few weeks ago, we lost. No, sorry, we drew our game because I'd mispronounced two answers. You
Yeah.
know, answers that if I'd have just got the pronunciation right, I knew what I was talking about, but just said so what was it? I said Chepstum instead of Chepstow,
Yeah.
and that cost us the win. So things like that when they're really close. But our game was an absolute blowout. We lost. One of those games you just have to take on the chin and move on to next week. And so that's when I kind of feel, oh, okay, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, but I'm not beating myself up as much about them because it wouldn't have made a difference in the end if I'd have got them. What about yourself, Jason? How was your game this evening?
Oh, we lost 40-37. So I think I can't remember the David Bowie question, Basquiat. Can't remember if that went for an X or if the other team got it. I didn't get it. That was my question. It's a shame because the Chelsea Pyrite and Malachite, I would have been all over that one, but that never came to be. So yeah, that was a 3-point swing right there. But it was a very close game all the way through.
Yeah, a very close game, and I don't know. I think so. I'm looking through the questions right now, and so I kind of what I thought to myself underperformed tonight. But I think looking through these questions, there wasn't a lot of kind of modern pop culture. And I think there's two sets that I can think of off the top of my head, and that's TikTok and Instagram influencers, and then Lady Gaga and Shakira. It's just, at least to me, both quite easy, quite level one pairs of name some massive singers who had some massive hits with Beyonce, and then name some big social media sites. One that's a short video and one that's photos. Whereas the rest of the pop culture elements, the cricket, the Javier Bardem film, and the Before Night Falls, and the other one, Basquiat, I think, yeah. So things like that, like they weren't too. Oh, and even something that I'd consider, yes, it's classed as modern, but not too modern. The bands, the early 2000s.
The Saboteurs and
Yeah,
the Audio Slaves.
Yeah, the Raconteurs and Audio Slave. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd have been all over if the question would bother coming to me. The cricket pair, I actually.
Oh.
Bon Jovi, though, that's a rarity in itself.
Oh, I mean, there's nothing. I always worry as a cap. I always worry when I'm captaining games and that I have to keep in the back of my mind when a second half pair comes up. Oh, who's got is it someone in our team who got the first half of this? Because I want them to get that Bon Jovi. I want them to feel good. And even sometimes, I have to sometimes you make the decision, person A's got a 2, but person B has 4 fingers up, and person B, but it was person A who got the first half of it, but I'm going to go to person B because they're more confident on this answer, and I need it, and we need it to win.
Although you do get to know your teammates. I mean, I've played. It's interesting when you play maybe a friendly. You join a random group of people you're not played with, and then you find between them that somebody who puts 2 fingers up, that means they're dead certain. Whereas, I mean, I'm pretty much either a full fist or 1 or 2 fingers. There's not much in between. So it's just a matter of knowing your teammates a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I'm being reminded by the chat here. Of course, there was the Wimbledon pair as well, which was very, again, I think quite level one, quite nice. But yeah, you get to know your team a lot. Especially I myself started in a very scratch team, which then I started myself in a scratch team, which is then evolved over the last few seasons to essentially become people I'm at uni with. Now we invited a few of our friends on because a few people had to drop out from the scratch team, so just kind of to build up numbers. But even then, one of the people who's still on our team, but we had never met the guy in my life in person, only over Zoom. I know what he's really good at. I know sport, anything to do with like the 70s as his era, things like that. But sometimes, you get your teammates that absolutely surprise you and just pull an answer out the bag that you never thought they were ever gonna get.
Yeah.
And I think that's such the joy of quizzing. What about you, Jason? Did you start in a scratch team, or did you come in already knowing your teammates?
No. Started off with a scratch team, which was still together with.
You were literally thrown together, weren't you?
Oh yeah, you were thrown together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your team?
Literally.
Literally. Yeah, I think. Yeah, so sorry, I am getting reminded there was actually quite a lot of pop culture, so excuse my moaning. I'm very sorry for all the moaning that I'm doing. It's mainly just because I'm not getting them. If I'm not being asked the modern pop culture, it didn't happen in the quiz. It wasn't.
I'm looking at it right now. Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was a source of annoyance for me because I've just finished watching it, and I did try to make a mental note of who wrote it, and didn't make it strong enough, and I knew I got Bay or Gay or May or something like that in my head, and I had to go with one of them, and obviously it's Way,
yeah.
But just one of those little mind farts that.
So I think making mental notes draws me on nicely to kind of a subject I want to talk about, because I don't think I've talked about it yet on this recap. And this is the idea of, obviously there's many different ways quizzers people can use to learn things and can revise for things. But one of the major things that I know a lot of quizzers use, myself included, is we use flashcards. We use actual handwritten notes to write down things. Yeah, are either of you two flashcard learners? Do you write flashcards, have an app, Anki, or anything like that to learn? How do you practice and learn for your quizzing?
I just get drunk. No, I mean, a lot of it is, I think a lot of it is repetition. So, the more quizzing you do, the more chance you have of picking up certain questions. I mean, even in OQL, the amount of times I'll hear a question on a very similar subject, and it'll take me 2 or 3 times to remember it, and then suddenly that one time, bam, all over it. So yeah, there's a lot of repetition that goes on, and that helps a lot in terms of picking up the odd point here. I mean, the classic one for me was Sally Rooney, the writer of Normal People.
Oh yeah, Normal People. She wrote, yes.
2 or 3 times I had that question, didn't know, and now I can't get it out of my head. Just one of those things.
Yeah,
that's why I tend to go is repetition.
Yeah, I think through quizzing, I know so much about things I've never seen, never read. Normal People, didn't see the TV show of it, but I could tell you what happens, who wrote it, where it's set, everything like that, and I've never seen it, and it's just through OQL 2-pointers, OQL questions coming up asking who wrote it, what county is it set in, questions like that. What about you, Stuart? How are you studying and learning for quizzing?
I try and avoid it as far as possible, which is pretty much my learning, full stop. I find I enjoy quizzing. I enjoy knowing stuff, but I don't enjoy just learning stuff for the sake of it. I like enjoying learning. So I've sort of steadfastly avoided learning US presidents and stuff like that, to my detriment. Yeah, I'm not great on capital cities, but because I don't know, I don't want to sit down and go through a bunch of flashcards or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I started off doing the same. I started off with just picking, you just pick things up from around and things like that, and then I don't know, I think slowly over time I kind of got into the habit of not so much flashcarding, but finding ways that worked for me to learn, and a lot of those was through just simple things like YouTube videos. I watched videos. I learned the US presidents and US state capitals through the Animaniacs songs on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's 2 songs where they go through all the states, all the state capitals, and all the US presidents, and that thing has been ingrained into my head so much that it's now just stuck up there. It's never going anywhere. Whether that's a blessing or a curse.
What I do like doing is listening to podcasts, because I'm self-employed, so I can do what I like. And I was listening to No Such Thing as a Fish, which is great and amusing, and you picked up bits from it. But I've started listening to You're Dead to Me. It's a podcast. It's on the BBC iPlayer, and it just picks a subject or person. So Mary Shelley, for example, or Mansa Musa, or Napoleon, or whatever. And they'll have a historian and a comedian, and basically the historian will just go through. They'll just discuss it. It's done by one of the guys who is one of the chief nerds on horrible histories. So it's done in quite a light-hearted way. So I'm enjoying listening to it, and I'm learning some stuff. So that's my way of learning stuff.
Noted. I mean, there was one question tonight actually, the Collatz conjecture. The amount of times I've seen that video on my Facebook newsfeed, and could I get that answer? Not a chance. Irritating. I hate quizzing. I don't know why I bother sometimes.
Yeah, It's when there's a pair as well, and so I didn't know the Calvin cycle, but I knew the Krebs cycle. But of course, that didn't come to me. So when you know half of it, and you're just not getting it. And of course, that's that thing that happens every single week is where I think this week for us, it was on the French houses, and in the first half, somebody said Valois, and of course, that was the second half. So.
Always happens. Someone says first half or the second half, and you're kicking yourself when it comes up because immediately you know. So obviously looking at tonight's questions, I want to look at some of the big results from tonight's because we're getting into the end of the season now. I think only a couple weeks left. Now I think next week might be the last week. So we're starting to see some divisions get confirmed now. We're starting to see relegations and promotions be settled and definitive. And do you think, obviously, do you think that once you have been relegated or once you know your promotion's secure, there is like kind of a weight lifted off your shoulders and you kind of take that foot off the gas pedal a bit? You're not trying as hard, you're not fighting as hard maybe in the next few weeks?
I think it's probably only human nature that, even, everyone would say, oh, I'm doing my best all the time. But the reality is are you really thinking with a sort of a clear head of trying to maximize your number of points out of this particular, or you're just like, oh, you know what, it don't matter now, I'm just going to just going to bash something out there.
Yeah, because I think, if you really want to fight for it, and you can go for your division title, or you can maybe play for pride if you're being relegated. I don't know. I feel like there is a little bit, because obviously, so my team, we've been safe for a while for the last few weeks. We know that barring a massive downslide in the next few weeks, we're not relegated, but we're not getting promoted either. We're just happy mid-table. So I think that is kind of a lot of weight lifted off our shoulders. We're not going into games thinking, oh, we need to win this, we need to do good, we need to just reach for answers, reach for guesses, and things like that. And it's conversations I've had on this with people in Division 1 leagues where the fact that we get a free guess from Division 2 down plays a massive part in that. It allows you to take that risk and it allows you to just almost throw something at a wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah. I think the thing is though is especially I don't know how it's been for other teams, but we've been in, so my team's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. We've been basically Division 6 for 4 or 5 seasons, and every season has been quite extreme, really. Like the first season, we basically lost like 6 games on the trot, but always like with a bonus point. And then after that, we just then went on a winning streak, and then that continued into the next season, and we were doing really well. The season after that, we couldn't buy a win. And even though we're in promotion, the beginning of the season, we could well have been in Division 7 because because we were relegated last year, but because of teams moving out and whatever, we got put back into Division 6, and now we're fighting for promotion for Division 5. So there's very fine margins, and you can go, say, you can go on a run, good or bad, and or fluctuate around. But it doesn't seem to be, we don't seem to be able to like get up ahead of steam that carries on for season after season after season.
I think that's what's really good about this league though, and about the way that OQL is structured, and Quiz League of London as well, and just this type of Quiz League format in general, is that, yes, you may have teams that do have a bit of a winning streak and a bit of a, a bit of a winning streak and they're having a bit of steam, but all it takes is just one bad week almost, and that can flip everything. Or, yes, I know that if I'm going into a game against, Quiz Machine Kills Fascists or Mangoes, or it's like a very high prominent Division 1 team, I'm likely to be absolutely smacked, absolutely shut down, not even a chance. But, when we have these divisions and we have these structures that are relatively well balanced and relatively well matched, you're getting a lot of good people at a similar ability thrown together, like Jason's team, and, and anything can happen. And I think that's such the joy of this. Anything can happen, and I think that is such a joy of this quiz league.
It's at the end of the day, I'm here to have a good quiz every week, and just if we're in Division 5 or Division 7 or Division 6, as long as it's a good competitive quiz, that's what I'm here for. Maybe the reason why I stayed in Division 6 is because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't do much flashcards and proper revising.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Hang on, yeah. So there's a lot of. I'm trying to find the right words to say, or what even I'm trying to say. Yeah, I think there's some quizzes that really reward you for doing your research and studying for it. The one a few weeks ago had a lot of just really quiz chestnuts in it that people know when they come into quiz, that are the things you learn along the way. And then this week my team was saying it and I was saying it, and I don't know if it's because we're quite a young team age-wise. We found it it was almost quite just a bogged down, just felt like we were getting beat up by the questions, not even the other team. I mean, from a personal stand, a 3-line question on cricket, I'm asleep by the word cricket has been said.
Oh, but that it's different strokes, isn't it? So that's that's right in my that's in your corridor uncertainty, and that's an absolute full ball ready to knock to the cover boundary for me.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. And then there are certain questions, obviously, that came up that you're thinking, oh, I can hit those. These are absolutely brilliant. But I think even in your seat, there's such a strong spread of questions some weeks that you're there and you're like, okay, I've got the first 4 and I'm building up a full head of steam. I feel confident. I'm in the zone. I'm firing all cylinders. I'm connecting things. Your next question comes around. You hit a brick wall. And then for the rest of the quiz, you're just, oh, I don't know. Is it this? Is it this? I mean, I'm sure it should be this, but is it that?
Yeah.
Things like that. And then certain questions where your logic doesn't work out. So for the shipping forecast questions, it asked the one about the only shipping forecast area named after a place in Scotland is Forth, but what's directly south of Forth, named for the North England River, blah blah blah. Someone in the quiz, someone on the other team had said Tweed for it. The answer was Tyne. And but that's something that I would say is still quite good logic. Knowing that, okay, the Tweed is North England, it's on the eastern side, it's on the east coast, and it's right on that border. Tweed is still a very logical answer to give. So something like that, when your logic doesn't quite pay off, can almost be quite of a knock to you and quite of a setback. At least, what do you guys feel about that? If your logic doesn't work out in a quiz, do you feel like that takes a knock to you at some points and you're less likely to go for it again? Or are you able to kind of shake it off and just keep going and trying?
Well, I had it last week with the tortoiseshell butterfly. And I was I'd never heard of a tortoiseshell butterfly, but then I'd never heard of a tabby butterfly either, and I opted to go for tabby, which was not very bright. But then after that, even though I managed to get 16 free last week, it was the 3 that, like, my own questions just didn't seem to. I was just doubting myself just because of that first question. It was
Yes.
a painful experience. But at the end of the day, with any quiz, I'm starting to come around to the idea that it's not me versus someone else. It's me versus the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
actually got that question come to me, and I got it wrong. But it was basically I had Tyne and Tees, and I didn't know. I knew they were both rivers, North England, East Coast. I didn't know which one was in a shipping forecast. And I went one way, but at least my team. I mean, there's obviously 3 guests, so my team was able to pick up the other half. So I narrowed it down. So if there's some strategy there that just gives the rest of your team a little bit more of a chance to pick up at least a point.
I think,
but at the end of the day, you get a question wrong. There's not many that I brood over and because it's not fun. To be honest, I'm more likely to be annoyed in a quiz not by the questions but by the pace of the game, or I quite like a snappy reader. We get consistent, go through time, 15 seconds. Okay, need an answer. Let's move on. When I've a few too many games where we're not finished by 9 o'clock, not near finished by 9 o'clock. It's just
I think, and I don't know obviously about other people, but I think the pace of a quiz and the set of a quiz and how fast you're going does have a big impact, at least for me. If it's very quick fire, and if it's I love a quick fire quiz. I absolutely love quizzes that go quite fast, that go one after the other, and you're on a roll and you keep going. Because then I don't have time to stop and brood. I don't have time to stop and think, oh, I got that one wrong. Why did I get that one wrong? Nope, too late. I'm thinking about the next one now. I can worry about the capital of Eritrea later. I can worry why I never got that one in a while. So I think, but if the pace is slow, and if obviously no fault to other people in that, and then when everyone else works at different speeds, everyone gets at that. But if the pace is slow, I kind of do feel myself almost dragging along and listening in, and I don't know, I feel myself, if the quiz is slow, I feel my brain kind of going slow as well. But if a quiz is fast paced, then I feel that I'm worth firing a lot more. I feel that I'm working harder and I'm going at a quicker pace. What about you, Jason? Do you find that the pace of a reader and the speed at which a quiz is going kind of affects you? Or...
Well, to be honest, Sean, it's not really something I've thought about before, because I've only been competitive quizzing for just over a year now, so I'm still at the beginning. I dare say that as time wears on, I'll start thinking about this sort of thing. But for me, it's just wait for a question to come my way, and then honestly, I don't think about the timings or anything like that. It's just ask me a question, I'll try and answer it, whether it be 5 seconds time or 5 minutes. So
I think that's also a brilliant outlook to have, because then you're not, because I find myself focusing on it and I find myself thinking about it, and it's possibly distracting me from thinking about a question. But if you're able to kind of not even be concerned by that, then it's absolutely grand. You're able to devote yourself fully to the question that's being asked.
Well, also, I mean, it's like you just said as well. You prefer a fast quiz, because in that way you don't have time to dwell on previous answers, and you see it quite a lot on quiz shows where teams get in, or players get into like a pass spiral or whatever, or they get one question wrong and they just fall to pieces because they're spending too much time dwelling on that wrong answer. So it's a very good skill that you've got yourself, Sean, in that you don't dwell on that sort of thing.
So looking at this week's games, looking at this week's results, Division 1, which was quite closely contested last week, has now started to see a bit of a lead for Mangoes, who are out in front now. So obviously, I think one more week. I think someone said there one more week left in this division and this league. And looking at it, yeah, it is. So it's going to go down to the wire between Mangoes and Motley Crew for the Division 1 title. Oh, Mangoes just need a point from their game next week. And I think with a team like Mangoes and the players they have, I don't see them not getting a point. With 8 wins, 2 losses, one of those losses being a bonus point. I think they can do it. I don't want to say anything set in stone, carve the tablet, but I think this is Mango's league to lose at this stage. And then, we've got some really just teams that, in all honesty, I'm quite surprised to see quite high up. Like, I think I've said it now, Compulsory Mantis Shrimp, who are an amazing team. They're very good players individually and amazing when they come together as a team. But, for the last few seasons, have always been struggling in a relegation battle. So to see them up in fourth place is such an amazing thing. It's like we've been saying, all it takes is just a couple good questions and a couple good rounds, and you're right back up there. You're right up there. Amoebas, unfortunately, relegation was sealed for them tonight. So we'll be seeing them in Division 2 next season. But hey, that means they get a free guest back. They get to play again with a free guest. So hopefully we'll be seeing them in Division 1 in OQL 9. What about you guys? Is there anything from the league table at all on the website that you can see that's quite interesting? I think, do we still have any team with an unbeaten record? I don't think we do.
Kohinoor in Division 6.
Kohinoor. Yes, all the Kohinoors belong to us. An absolutely amazing run of form for them. Not lost a single game yet. I am very worried, as I'll be in Division 5 with them next season. So that'll be a worrying game.
Yeah, and obviously foregone conclusion. I mean, they were in Division 6 a couple of years ago, and now we're in Division 4, I think now.
Yeah, they've been climbing a lot. They're people Robert Crawley and Morgan Bush, two absolutely amazing young quizzers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just in awe of what they know and what they can do and how they perform in a quiz environment. We're playing them next week, so I'm watching yous. I'm seeing yous. I'll be ready. I'll be there.
Well, I think with regards to foregone conclusion, Alan Hansen said you can't win anything with kids. Well, they got 3 of them, and they got 3 outstanding kids. Because I can't remember if you mentioned Matthew Nail as well.
Oh, Matthew, of course, yeah.
I tell you what, I hate them. I'm only joking. They're great people. They're great people, but I think they're going to be as good as their ambition lets them be. I think they're on the right path. If at least one of them is not a British or world champion in the next 10 or 20 years, I'll be very surprised. They are that good at such a young age. It makes me sick, quite frankly.
Nice.
But no, they're great people. I'm really happy for them. Like I say, they're a good team, good bunch of people, and it'll be interesting to see how far they can go, even just in OQL. So I think they've got the potential to become really big players over the next few seasons.
Definitely.
The way that their trajectory is going.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I know Robert Crawley on Foregone Conclusion has started picking up a lot more of university style quizzing while he's doing his studies. I've seen him at a few tournaments. And university style quizzing, Quiz Bowl, is very different to this. It's a lot. So it's almost like UC, but a bit more dour, if that makes sense. I'm allowed to say that. I done UC. I'm allowed to say that it's awful. But it's a lot more academical, and it's a lot more 10 lines long of questions that you have to buzz in on, and I think for anyone who can put up with Quiz Bowl now and who enjoys it and loves it, I have a special place in my heart for it, but it's not for me anymore. I've done my time with it, so good luck to Robert on that. But he is an absolutely amazing quizzer, as is Morgan, as is Matthew, as is everyone on that team. I'm very worried to face them next week. So I think we'll quickly, let me see, what are the big games going into the final week of the season? Who have the big names got? So let's see, Mangoes are facing, oh wow, I didn't even notice that until just now. So it is Mangoes v Motley Crue. Next week it is Spot 1 v Spot 2.
That couldn't have worked out any better in the scheduling.
Couldn't have worked out any better. So that is the major game to watch next week. That is the major game to watch. Let me see. I mean, but I do still think it is Mango's game to lose. It is Mango's game to lose there because their point difference.
It might have been a little more interesting if Motley Crue hadn't have lost this week.
Yeah, unfortunately they did lose this week, but I mean it's still quite an interesting game. And like we said, anything can happen in this quiz league, but I do think that it is Mango's game to lose. It's Mango's league to lose next week. The point difference is vast. It's 42 points difference. So even if, Motley Crue win, they have to win by 42 points.
Yeah.
Well, 21 it will be, to match that difference.
Yeah.
They have to beat them by 22 points. And even then, it is possible, it is doable, in the realms of OQL, but I don't think we've ever seen a game that far apart. So I think it'll have to be a history-making game in order for Motley Crue to take this title away from Mangoes now. In Division 2, we've got Team Northeast versus Alan Partridge. The winner gets promoted to Division 1. So that will also be an interesting game to watch. I know that maybe a lot of teams in Division 1 will be seeing how that game turns out. They'll want to know who they're up against next season. I think there's a lot of stuff to be decided going into the last week, which is always very fun. Titles haven't been written yet. Promotion hasn't been secured yet for a lot of teams and a lot of divisions. So it'll be very, very interesting.
Yes.
Let me ask, are you excited going into the final week, and are you going to give it your all?
Well, yeah, because our game is absolutely meaningful. We've so based on this week's performance, we scored 38 points, and the team that we're playing next week scored. I think they scored 37. So very, very closely matched. So yeah, it depends how the questions pan out.
It's always in the luck of the questions. What about you, Jason? You excited going into the final week of the season?
Nah, not really. We can't go down. Hopefully, we just have a good match. I mean, all I'm interested in is just moving up the individual table. So that's all I'm looking for now. Now that the team have got nothing to play for, it's just all about. Well, it's always about trying to improve myself. So yeah, it'd be nice to see how far up the table I can go. I've been in the top 100 a couple of seasons ago, but haven't really reached those lofty heights since then. So, but yeah, that's all it is. Just playing for points for myself.
So my final question to ask both of you is, what is your dream question? What is your specialist subject? If you could be asked about anything in the world and know for sure that you would absolutely ace it, what would it be? Stuart?
I've got there's a few areas which are good for me. I did get I've got a beehive, so I'm a beekeeper, and there was a question came up about a mite that affects bees, and unfortunately it was worded as they were looking for bee, and it was clued so far down that anyone would have got it. So it's annoying when you get those questions that are right in your specialist subject, your little niche that no one else is going to get until the last bit comes out and it clues it all the way out. But my other, so I'm by training I'm a rubber engineer, so anything about rubber and plastics and that sort of thing is also quite
right in your wheelhouse. Jason, what is your dream if you had it come up in a quiz?
I have no idea. It's never been a question that's been asked me. I mean, anything to do with wrestling. It's always a popular subject in OQL. I know that from some of the comments that have been made about friendlies in the past. Yeah, anything to do with wrestling, I'll be all over it. So,
the important thing is having that. Wrestling's an absolute blank spot for me. So when we play PCC or whatever, then Jason wipes the floor with me on those sorts of areas. So it's worth knowing the things that no one else knows, or not many other people know.
Exactly. There's lots of valuable points in it. All that remains for me to do is thank both Stuart and Jason for your time, for giving up your evening for this. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who is still watching. And we will see you next week for the last in the season. Thank you. Bye-bye.